Now we're on to step 5 or lesson 5 of Real Estate 101, and that's going to be how do you get your offer accepted? How do you execute when you're writing an offer? One of the most important things is going to be speed. If the property is a great deal, then you should be ready to write an offer within 24 hours of it being listed on the market. Now, there's obviously exceptions to this, but if you really want to get the best deal possible, try to be the first offer. If it's not priced aggressively or there's uncertainty about potential issues with the property, take more time to do your due diligence and don't just jump right into it because the price looks good. But this is why you need to be well educated and have your criteria nailed down ahead of time. It's going to make a big difference. So find out whatever you can about the seller. That's another thing that's going to help you out. You can look the owner up on the county tax website to see who they are. See when the owner acquired the property and for what price. Perform an internet search on the owner or social media if you can see any reasons why they might be selling, or if maybe they recently passed away and the property's now in an estate. That's really common. If the property's distressed, go to the county's recorder of deeds website and see what the original recorded mortgage balance was to get an idea of what their current payoff is. Since this is an open, competitive market, sometimes the seller situation won't make a difference when you're writing an offer, but sometimes it will. You got to try to figure out what's that person going through behind the scenes and what are their goals. So, and then when it comes to writing an offer, terms are more important than price a lot of the time. It's not just about the price. People want agreeable terms to be good. And what do I mean by that? The sellers want certainty. So less contingencies is going to always help your offer. Maybe if you go in with no home inspection or no appraisal, cash offer, they might accept your offer over somebody that's offering them a higher price that has a lot of different contingencies. For example, when you write an offer with the home inspection contingency, well, you could come back later and say, hey, I need this, this, and this fixed, what I found on the inspection report, or I need you to take 5, 10 grand off the price seller. So it's almost like the initial offer when you have a home inspection contingency. And depending on how that offer is written up in the contract, there's different ways to do it. But a lot of times that's what I call the fake offer, because I've sold properties and then they have a home inspection and then they come back and they want certain things fixed or they come back to renegotiate. So the negotiation's not done right up front when you write the offer if you've got a bunch of different contingencies. So it always helps to do no inspections versus inspections, but you got to factor in your tolerance for risk and see if you would be willing to fix things on your own. And typically that's going to get you a better deal because these sellers might not have the cash to make these repairs. So they might give you a great deal if you're willing to take on any kind of repair risk. So, and obviously, if you can write an offer with no appraisal, that makes a big difference too. The appraisal and home inspection are two separate things. The appraisal is more focusing on the value of the property. They're the bank's eyes for the transaction. So they want to make sure the bank's not loaning too much money on this property. You can get you can get appraisal waivers for some purchases if the value's been supported for, there's been enough comparable property sales, and then you're putting down a large down payment. It's actually usually ran through an automated underwriting system with a conventional loan. And it might tell you, hey, you could actually skip the appraisal on this purchase. But most of the times you're probably going to need an appraisal if you're getting a mortgage on the property. But then again, how we talked in the first couple lessons, you can leverage other assets, take a loan against maybe another property, pull out some cash so that you don't need to get an appraisal or mortgage on this purchase. And then maybe you refinance it later and pull some money out. That's a strategy that I really like, and that'll help you get a better deal too a lot of the time. So another term that's going to help you out is be flexible on your closing date. This seller, maybe they're ready to move ASAP. They want to close in like 20 days. So if you're working with a lender that can close fast and has a good reputation, that's going to help you out a lot with that. But maybe also they don't want to close fast. They haven't even found their new home yet. They've got to sell their house to buy another. And if you're like, hey, I'll give you a couple months to find a new house, I'll be flexible on when we close. It's an investment property. I'm not moving into it, so it doesn't really matter. That can help you a lot too. Just be easy to work with. So the better your terms are um, for the seller, the better chance of you getting a good price. But like I said earlier, terms are often more important than price because when you got a bunch of contingencies, that might not actually be the seller might not actually get the amount of money they were expecting if you have a bunch of different contingencies with your offer. So another thing that's important, be well represented. So if you're working with the realtor, work with the realtor that's got a good reputation, is good at communicating, because the seller's going to ask their listing agent, like, hey, who's John's buyer's agent? Like, do they do a good job? Do they respond fast? Or are they known for kind of dropping the ball and making mistakes that affect the transaction overall? And then if you're getting a loan, I would say be represented and pre-approved already by a reputable local lender. In my area, at least, the sellers and realtors, they love working with local lenders. Not to say that Chase Bank isn't known for doing a good job too and closing deals, but they want someone that's actually accountable and in the community if they make a mistake or something goes wrong. They don't want to be calling into a call center and then the loan officer never even answers. Someone gets denied for their loan and no one's responsible or accountable for it. So that's a big reason why it helps working with a local lender with a good reputation. So same goes for the buyer's agent. You want to have good people all around you. So sellers can sometimes be concerned about you representing yourself with no agent or attorney involved. A high percentage of transactions don't close when people are representing themselves and not using a realtor, especially if they're not, a professional investor, haven't done this dozens of times. Uh, People like it when you have a professional involved so that they know that this is going to go through at a higher percentage and there's a lot less uncertainty if they're going to get paid when they sell the house. So all those things I mentioned above, those are some good tips on how you get your offer accepted. And if there's multiple offers on a property, it can make a big difference. Maybe even if you have your lender call the listing agent and say, hey, Jeff has amazing credit. I've got all their income documents. They're pre-underwritten. We have no concerns with them at all. All we need to do is the appraisal, and then we're good to go. Just having that communication up front can make a big difference too, and make it more likely that these sellers will accept your offer and give you better terms. So that's all we got for this lesson. Let's move on to the next one.